Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. The air this morning was thick with expectations of a spectacle, and this has been our situation for several weeks now. The unveiling of the new parliament was not limited to its architectural excellence or regal expanse. It was also not merely about breaking away from the colonial hangover of the past or about recognition of the Indian historical traditions of dharma-based rule. The visuals of Prime Minister lying prostrate before the Senegal and the solemn chants of all faith prayers conjured a far more potent moment. A moment pregnant with expectations of its future, while beaming in confidence of an identity regained. It was a moment of purity. It was a moment beyond narrow trappings of politics. It was India's moment, and a moment for every Indian to savor. A moment filled with hope and possibilities. A moment of dreams and conviction. An expression of an Indian who looks more sure of his or her place on this global stage. Prime Minister Narendra Modi's address summed up this sentiment while underlining that the new Sansad placed a global responsibility on India's shoulders. He called it a beacon of hope for the world, which will set examples for democracy the world over. It was a statesman's speech showing the Prime Minister understood the value of the occasion. But alas, the epoch-making import of Sunday's extravaganza seemed completely lost on the opposition parties. While the Congress suggested that the detailed ceremony around the Sengol was an attempt to reduce India's Loktantra into a Shah Tantra, the Rashtriya Janta Dal stooped further below to suggest the new Sansad resembled a coffin of democracy, it said. However, the BJP responded by suggesting that the coffin only symbolized the beginning of the end for such regressive politics. But let's first listen in to the Prime Minister.
मैं सभी देशवासियों को भारतीय लोकतंत्र के इस स्वर्णिम क्षण की बहुत बहुत बधाई देता हूं। साथियों, ये सिर्फ एक भवन नहीं है, ये 140 करोड़ भारतवासियों की आकांक्षाओं और सपनों का प्रतिबिंब है। ये नया भवन आत्मनिर्भर भारत के सूर्योदय का साक्षी बनेगा। कुछ देर पहले संसद की इस नई इमारत में पवित्र सेंगोल की भी स्थापना हुई है। महान चोल साम्राज्य में सेंगोल को कर्तव्य पथ का, सेवा पथ का, राष्ट्र पथ का प्रतीक माना जाता था। ये हमारा सौभाग्य है कि इस पवित्र सेंगोल को हम उसकी गरिमा लौटा सके हैं। जब भी इस संसद भवन में कार्यवाही शुरू होगी, ये सेंगोल हम सभी को प्रेरणा देता रहेगा। हमारे देश के अलग अलग हिस्सों की जो विविधता है, इस नए भवन ने उन सबको समाहित किया है। इसमें राजस्थान से लाए गए ग्रेनाइट और बलुआ पत्थर लगाए गए हैं। ये जो लकड़ी का काम आप देख रहे हैं ना, वो महाराष्ट्र से आई है। यूपी में भदोही के कारीगरों ने इसके लिए अपने हाथ से कालीनों को बुना है। एक तरह से इस भवन के कण कण में हमें एक भारत श्रेष्ठ भारत की भावना के दर्शन।
You heard it from the Prime Minister, ladies and gentlemen. Even as the Prime Minister called it Amrit Kal for the Indian democracy, the opposition unrelentingly hurled insults at him and in turn to this country and this great moment.
संसद भवन विमर्श का जगह है, लोकतंत्र का बड़ा मंदिर है और जिस तरह से इसकी तागुतीकरण की जा रही है यह चिंता का विषय है। और मैंने पहले कहा कि संविधान का अनुच्छेद 79 कहता है कि सर्वे सर्वा संसद के राष्ट्रपति होते हैं, तो राष्ट्रपति का इस कार्यक्रम में मौजूद नहीं होना एक सवाल खड़ा करता है। आप संविधान का, परंपराओं का, दोनों को आपने दरकिनार किया, तिलांजलि दी।
राष्ट्रपति महोदया को इस्तीफा दे देना चाहिए अपने मान सम्मान अधिकार के लिए और देश के जनता को बचाने के लिए। कम से कम इतना तो उनको करना ही चाहिए, क्योंकि यह अधिकार उनका ही था। ये उद्घाटन हो करती हेड ऑफ स्टेट राष्ट्रपति ही होता है।
ये बेहतर होता है कि लोकसभा के स्पीकर उसका इनॉग्रेशन करते, मगर प्रधानमंत्री को हर जगह दिखाना है कि वही सब कर रहे हैं, दूसरा कोई कर ही नहीं सकता। और 2014 से पहले तो भारत में कुछ हुआ ही नहीं, अभी हो रहा है।
So the legitimate question we are asking on the Newshour tonight, will Vipaksh's boycott call be judged by history? That's the question and that's the debate coming up on the other side. And joining me on the Newshour tonight, Rajiv Pratap Rudy, Member of Parliament and National Spokesperson of the Anand Ranganathan, author and scientist, Dr. Ayodhya Ram Reddy, Member of Parliament of the YSRCP, Jawhar Sircar, Member of Parliament and National Spokesperson of the Trinamool Congress. Also joining me tonight, Dr. Saeed Hafiz, National Spokesperson of the DMK, Dr. Sanjay Jha, author and suspended Congress leader, also joining the show. And my first question goes to Dr. Sanjay Jha. And Dr. Sanjay Jha, why would the Congress behave in such a petty manner? Not just the tweets that are coming out. The fact is that as the largest party in the opposition in Lok Sabha, haven't you marred such a historical moment with just some petty politics? After all, the parliament is going to be a place where you will also represent the people who voted for you, just as the BJP or any other political party would. Why would you stay away from what is your right and the right of the people who you represent?
Navika, thank you very much for inviting me for the show. I want to make a couple of observations before I listen to the others, and every guest here is a very eminent individual. Firstly, I don't think democracy can be reduced to any concrete structure, no matter how magnificent it may be. I think democracy is about, it's not an abstract concept either, right? It's about how you practice it on the ground for the people of India. And I see images today of champion wrestlers who have represented India, brought Mr. Rudy glory, brought Anand glory, brought everybody glory by winning medals in the most competitive championships in the world. And what are the sights that we are witnessing? It's been over a month in the heat of New Delhi. They're asking for self-respect. These are the women of this country. I am assuming that when Mr. Modi has done this entire razzmatazz, he's thinking about the people of India, right? And 50% of the people of this country are women. And if women who have represented India are humiliated in Delhi when they are begging for self-respect and justice, then I have a serious problem with Mr. Modi's definition of democracy and my own understanding of it. My second point, and this is at the end of the day, I mean, you know, when you are talking about democracy, Mr. Modi could not even carry his fellow members of parliament. Today, when we're talking of a historic day, it should not be just about this building, and I hope to see it when I'm in Delhi whenever I come. But the truth is this, that you could not even impress upon the opposition of the need to be together, and that's a failure of this government. Not just disrupting parliament, not just ordinances, but the way you threaten everybody through using the powers of the ED and the CBI. At the core, Mr. Modi has destroyed the quintessential democracy that India stands for. Freedom, liberty, respect, and everything that the preamble talks about. And I don't think the BJP, and Mr. Rudy is here on the program, I have a lot of respect for Mr. Rudy, but the truth is, you cannot bamboozle the country using imagery. You can't make a country as great as India, and I'm a very proud citizen of this country. I can tell you this, we deserve better. I would like to put it on the table today. I'm not even making it polemical, Navika, but I am deeply upset that this building has been inaugurated on the day when Vinayak Damodar Savarkar celebrates his anniversary, because the truth is that Nathuram Godse murdered Gandhi, okay? Nobody can obliterate that from history. And the president of the Hindu Mahasabha, to which Mr. Godse belonged, happened to be Vinayak Damodar Savarkar. Mr. Modi has to make a choice. Is it Mahatma Gandhi or is it the Nathuram Godse and Vinayak Damodar Savarkar? You can't have both. You can't have the cake and eat it too. It's time the BJP made choices. The people of India are watching.
Mr. Rajiv Pratap Rudy, that's a litany of problems that the Congress has. While you respond to it, just a small observation that I'd like to make, Dr. Sanjay Jha, is the government could not unite the opposition. Well, the government did get many of the opposition parties to attend. The BSP was there. The YSRCP was there. I saw HD Devegowda because I was there. And it was not a moment where the spectacle of the building was to be seen. If some of them could have been inside like I was, there were all kinds of rumors that had said that there will be no media gallery. Modi is going to, cut off all presence of any media, any questions. But may I tell you, the experience was totally different. It gave me goosebumps. And I've covered Parliament for 27 years, from the old building to the new building. It was really a proud moment to be part of history that was being made. That opposition parties didn't see it that way is extremely distressing. But Mr. Rajiv Pratap Rudy, respond to all the charges made by Dr. Sanjay Jha.
Well, I heard Sanjay speaking and I was slightly astonished, rattled, mainly because he said that, of course, there were agitating wrestlers in Delhi, and that was his first reason that the new parliament should not have been inaugurated, because there were people sitting on a dharna somewhere, and possibly if they were not on a dharna, they would have attended the parliament inauguration. Or possibly if there is a flood somewhere in the country and there is a heat wave somewhere in the country, political people who are supposed to represent the nation or the people should not attend, because there's something happening across the country which could be a reason to say that something happening to disturb and destroy India. And even if calamities are happening, if protests are happening, for whatever reasons they have. So these things, nothing can happen and nothing should happen in this country. Nothing new, country should not move on because some people have decided to be on the streets for some point of time. Very good argument given by my friend, and if all the people who are hearing him on the television would appreciate that what he said, then I have nothing to say, but this is one of the most bizarre arguments why they did not attend the inauguration of the parliament. Then he said about something about the opposition parties not coming together, and it was the responsibility, our responsibility. So if tomorrow if the parliament sits in the new building, are they not going to sit there at all forever in their lifetime? Or is it something which is so sacrosanct that ever across in next 100 years, no opposition party is going to enter that parliament because this was made by Mr. Modi? I really do not know, I'm aghast that what kind of arguments, this building does not belong to the BJP or NDA or the Honorable Prime Minister Mr. Modi. Someone decided which was a building which was to be left apart, and in 1921 it was laid the first, and it's almost over 100 years now. We needed a new parliament to sit and work. So they don't want to come there. Well, it's for them to decide if they don't want to come there. Then the third point, he talks about Veer Savarkar. Yes, we are proud of Veer Savarkar. And today was the day when Prime Minister chose that this building has to be inaugurated. When he got the Sengol also, which was a symbol of pride, which was brought and which was lying in an archive for so many 70 years or so, it is a matter of pride for us that he did things which no one else did. If someone has a problem, and he did remember Mahatma Gandhi and said that 25 years prior to independence, it was his day. And 25 years after this parliament building comes up, it would be the era, the golden era of India where we have to make India. He has a conviction. So others have a problem, let them have a problem, we don't have a problem. But we take pride in what the Prime Minister did, and we are proud what he did. There were editors there was Nobel laureates there were Supreme Court judges there. So all of the opposition wants to say that they didn't, it was a fiasco, it was a farce. I don't know, viewers will decide the best what he has to say, Mr. Sanjay has to say.
Well, let me get in Mr. Jawhar Sircar. Mr. Jawhar Sircar, popular mandates is the way democracy runs. And, you know, that's the way it's happened in West Bengal, where your leader, Mamata Banerjee, has had back-to-back victories in 3 elections, and she is the chief minister, and rightfully so. So when the Prime Minister is a popularly elected Prime Minister, head of the largest party in Parliament, why does the opposition have a problem with the decisions that he takes as the leader of the largest party and being the Prime Minister? After all, it was after 3 decades that his 2 terms have had a majority government. You can't deny that fact of history. So, Mr. Jawhar Sircar, why such bitterness in the opposition about everything that can actually be a happy moment, a celebration for the democracy that has been built on the sweat and blood of a lot of freedom fighters? Why, Mr. Jawhar Sircar?
You see, Navika, to start with, I find your opening sentence about pettiness of the opposition to be misplaced. You have to understand it in a wider context. This building is meant for MPs. Has one MP been consulted? Has Parliament ever been consulted about the house that it is going to move into? You see, right from the beginning, it's a one-way traffic. This is my building, this is my petty architect who takes 230 crores, my Ahmedabadi architect who is otherwise not known, and you gulp it. That is no way to run a democracy. We have reached a nadir now. We have reached a nadir today. And Sanjay Jha's bringing in the argument about wrestlers is not a substitute. The way the wrestlers have been treated is condemnable. But let's come straight to the point. This is a 1,200 crore expenditure that has not been discussed in Parliament, or the contours of the new Parliament building never discussed with parliamentarians. Fact 1. Fact 2, they're talking about a 100-year building. If you want to break down a 100-year building, why don't you start with North Block and South Block, where Mr. Modi and Mr. Amit Shah stay? I mean, they work from. 100-year-old buildings are a dime a dozen in Delhi. Will you go on breaking them? No. You wanted a new toy. You wanted a new toy, and you didn't want to mention about it. Okay. Coming to 100-year-old buildings, there's a third logic put quite inanely by Hardeep Singh Puri in a correspondence with me, where he said this seismic zone 4. Yeah, seismic zone 4 is not meant only for Parliament building. The danger of seismic zone covers the entire Aisina Hill and the adjoining areas of Delhi, New Delhi. What are you going to do about it? So don't use seismic zone as an excuse. You wanted a Coliseum. You wanted a memorial etched across what I have written in the Telegraph today, etched across the chest of Delhi. You wanted something to go on for make you immemorial. I mean, and you wanted your place in history. Where we are concerned, we have reserved this place in history next to Muhammad bin Tughlaq and somewhere between Aurangzeb. We are not bothered about that. Coming back to the Parliament logic, number 1, there was no consultation. Number 2, it was a one-way traffic. The amenities, the way it should be constructed. Okay, I'll give you a concrete example. The Central Hall is a living cradle of democracy. It is where all parties get across the political lines to mingle and talk among themselves. The Central Hall is first started with no Central Hall. Then when I caught Hardeep Puri about it, he said there are going to be 2 central halls. What is this concept of 2 central halls? You have 1 central hall, and they are going to be 120-seater. I mean, the whole thing is confusing. It's like giving donations to the concept of democracy. Yeah, you babies wanted a central hall, so we give you 2. Look at the concept of the well. The well is where democracy is practiced in a rather, avoidable manner, but the well has been used by all political parties. It has been used by all political parties, I dare say, just to come and register their protest and go back to the seat. The well has been cut. The camera angle for the well will now be focused on the chair and not on the protesters. What do you want to eliminate through visuals? Karnataka has already taught you what about a mandate, the mandate of 2019 that Navika you speak about, your concept. The mandate is like a thermometer that needs to be taken at periodic intervals. And the last interval that we took the thermometer was Karnataka. So let's not talk about a continuing mandate.
Mr. Jawhar Sircar, you're an erudite man. You're an erudite man, and you know that there is a national barometer and there is a state barometer. But if you want to confuse the two, be my guest. I can't dissuade you. But you've raised several points, and the biggest point is toy for a man who wanted a toy. So now the new Sansad Bhavan is a toy. I'm coming to you, Rajiv Pratap Rudy, but on the toy part, I want to get in Dr. Anand Ranganathan. Dr. Anand Ranganathan, the esteemed member of parliament from Rajya Sabha, Mr. Jawhar Sircar, thinks that this is a toy that Mr. Modi has found for himself. How do you respond?
Good evening, Navika. On this very solemn day, great day, I would have expected the debate to have risen above the partisan lines that it is being conducted for the last 10 minutes. But there have been so many lies that have been spoken in the last 5 minutes. Please allow me, before I come to the thrust of the topic, to at least address a few of those, because it's very important. As far as my good friend Sanjay Jha is concerned, I could paraphrase Mark Twain for what he said. Mark Twain said, "West is west, east is east, and the twain shall never meet." Let me paraphrase it by saying that Sanjay is Sanjay, and facts are facts, and the twain shall never meet. I mean, on this day, he's talking about the wrestlers being arrested and all that. He should know. And, he is an aspiring parliamentarian after he is unsuspended from the Congress. He should know that there is Section 144 imposed at all times near the parliament. And the wrestlers have not been arrested for protesting. They've been protesting there for more than a month. They've been arrested for daring to march towards this new parliament, violating laws. So you have a right to protest, but you don't have a right to be illegal and conduct illegality. I'm sure conducting illegality is second nature to Congress and Trinamool, so that's why they don't consider them as violation of law. But please, those wrestlers, bringing in wrestlers, they've been arrested because they were violating the law of Section 144 being applied there. So let's get the facts there. Number two, it is profoundly amusing for the TMC spokesperson who was earlier, I think, in the Congress or something like that, to be talking about democracy and a toy. This is a government that has been virtually slapped by the Supreme Court recently for banning a film that the Supreme Court said should not be banned. This is the same government that treats democracy like a sham, like a joke. And, it arrested someone who forwarded a cartoon through an email of Mamata Banerjee, and that person was acquitted after 11 years. These are the people who talk about democracy and a toy? Please. Now, I have only 30 seconds left. That's the problem. Navika, if you delay bringing me in, I have to unfortunately rebut all the lies that have been spoken before me. But please give me 45 seconds, if not 30. You see, today is a very solemn occasion, Navika. And it has been proven to be so because Narendra Modi brought in this scepter, this Sengol. And I'll tell you why. Because while some advance towards greatness and others return to it, we Indians, we do both. And I think it was not just the consecration of this new parliament house for the next 50, 60, 70 odd years, long after we are gone, that will speak to the world as to the power that superpower India would hopefully become. But it is that we are remembering the symbolism that has been passed to us through our ancestors. This might be a replica that was made in 1947, but it represents something that happened more than 1,000 years ago. One of the greatest empires, the Chola Empire, that actually brought in from India to Indonesia, brought people together. And we are remembering that. This is why it is a solemn occasion, and somebody from the Congress needs to answer. Why on earth was this such a sacred scepter, a symbol of our, the dharohar of our civilization, used and kept in a dusty Anand Bhavan museum and represented as Nehru Chacha Nehru ki sunehri chhadi? Let me give you an analogy, Navika. Just imagine if one of your most precious kanjivarams was mistakenly or otherwise used as a pocha by your husband or near and dear one. This is the kind of depth to which Congress has plumbed, and their stooges on this panel, erstwhile or present, need to answer this. Why on earth did Congress use this scepter as a walking stick? They need to apologize first of all before they can enter this parliament.
Sure. Apology coming in, Dr. Jha. I think you've muted yourself. Alas.
Can you hear me?
Yes. Maybe you were apologizing on silent, on mute.
No, I'm saying Anand Ranganathan and Lies are not first cousins. They are, I think, they are just kind of intimately part of each other's DNA. And let me prove that to you. Number one, he talked about the women wrestlers and me trying to divert attention. Anand Ranganathan and Mr. Rudy today on your program, Navika, insult 50% of the women of this country.
Sanjay, deal with facts. They broke the law.
I didn't interrupt you.
Navika, then you please come in and ask him, were they breaking the law or not?
Let me finish. You're getting nervous.
Well, no, nobody is getting nervous here. But Dr. Jha, I get your point. Of course, our medal winners sitting on protest is not a good sight. But are you going to say that the occasion for them to march to Parliament is just the day of the inauguration? You didn't remember them on the debate when you were with me last week. You're remembering them only today, Dr. Jha, and that is why I'm asking, why has politics become just so confrontational? And Rudy ji, please respond to all the objections that have been raised even by Mr. Jawhar Sircar.
But Navika, by short point, Rajiv, you can just give me 5 seconds.
I'll just start point by please.
Navika, that end of
if Navika gives you, then yes.
Justice against sexual harassment. This is a serious national subject, and this is what a democracy is supposed to do.
Perfectly, and I am with you in that fight. I am with you and with the women in that fight. My only issue being that in the 30 days that they've been protesting, today is the day you remember. Today is the day you remember, and that just shows how just opportunistic your politics is. But Mr. Rajiv Pratap Rudy, this has been going on for 30 days. Why is nobody in the BJP responding to that charge? Why are you allowing rights of women actually to mar such a historic moment today? It's a question people will ask you.
Yes, but I'll conclude in a few seconds what Mr. Sircar said. He said about consultation. I barely believe that there was no consultation, and I have been a part of that consultation. And there are many members of parliament who have witnessed the system, and everyone has done that. There's something about 1,200 crores. He has got a lot of pain in deciding why we spend 1,200 crores. It's decided for the country. And when you talk about audit, I can tell you that even Parliament's expenditure is not audited by the CAG. It is audited by the internal system, and this has been long due. It's part of the constitutional provision where you don't audit what the Parliament does generally. And it is an internal audit. He says about something that this is what these people misguide. And they say they will bring down the old building for your kind information for this misleading information. No one is bringing down the old building. It's going to remain there as a part of the museum, as a part of the history, and as a part of a legacy of what we have achieved in democracy. So just this wrong statement should be concluded. Of course, if you make a new building, has Mr. Sircar ever looked up at the building when it is the ceiling of the old towers inside the building? They are put under nets. There are nets under it. It can fall any day because it's a structure which is fragile now. So if we are taking a precaution, he has a problem. If we are taking a precaution that the largest democratic building should be protected, he has a problem. Then he talks about the central hall. I'm very sorry he did not turn up today. He doesn't know what is a central hall, and he wants to be in the old central hall. You'll get enough time to be in the museum of the country, in the old central hall, if you behave like this. And that is what we want to say. There is a whole beautiful places which have been created where members of parliament can sit. So please come to that building, then you can comment. Then he talked about architects. I don't believe he's an architect. Mr. Sircar, are you an architect? Can you suggest anything? You have not been inside, and you have entire knowledge. And even people like you went to the Supreme Court. And even people like you went to the Supreme Court and said this building should not be made. There are people who I think in the system more sensible and they realize what the country needs. And beyond that, you have also said about, you talked about cameras. And now he says that I have never heard something like this in my 30 years of political career and being in parliament. That he said the well of the parliament is made with an intention to allow opposition parties to come and create a hangama there. Nowhere in the world anything which has been created where a well in the house is created. This is a kind of understanding an honourable member of parliament has. I'm absolutely aghast at the concept of this.
And he also has a problem with the fact that your camera angles are bad. They will show the speaker and not the protesting members. The problem has come down to now this pass. कि भाई camera में हम नहीं आएंगे. We will not be seen on television. And I want to ask Mr. Reddy of the YSRCP. Mr. Reddy, my question to you is, are we now worried in the opposition about how much of camera time we are going to get, and therefore going to the well of the house is important because the camera angles there should be focused on us? Is that the reason for actually not coming and joining the inauguration of a new Parliament House?
First of all, Navika, thank you. See, today is a celebration day for every Indian. We are so happy that Indian democracy found its next level of growth. Especially when I look at, the way, we are not alone the largest democracy, we are also the highest populated. The country has witnessed the past 75 years. If you look at we have inherited certain things, and then in the present day today when we look at, we have to plan this building in such a way that the next 75 years, next 100 years for this country, I think we have the right place to think and to make right policies, etc. So first of all, let me tell you, is there a need to build a new Parliament House? Yes, certainly. Let me tell you, we are all sitting there in the existing house. We know the problems. Every one of us sitting here, we know the issues. It was for the past, whatever those days requirement, it was made. But for today and for the future, especially the Amrit Kal, where India has to show the direction to the rest of the world, I think we need the right kind of place and the position. So I'm extremely happy to tell you that the decision taken by Prime Minister Modi at this point of time to build a new parliament for this country is very much need of the hour. And also it is, we all feel proud to be part of this, and all political parties must have participated. We would have had differences. We have several differences with among ourselves and around ourselves. But if you see the larger interest of nation, this is like a temple we are building, and the temple inauguration is happening today. Every one of us must have participated, and later on would have gone and debated in our own ways whatever we feel right. Also, coming back, the structure and its stability. I am a civil engineer. I must tell you, any building that is built is generally for 100 years old. So, 100 years ke baad civil engineering structure, loses its strength. It is not that it is in a seismic zone 5 or 4, it is not that. Certainly, after this, the building loses its stability, and we need to get into the right building. So I think on that, and then spending, the expenditure that has gone. Let me also tell you, ये इतना 160 lakh crore का GDP का देश के लिए, we are talking of some 1200 crore, 1300 crores being spent, and wo cameras, ye cameras. See, I think it is not logical at all at our level to discuss and think. Only one thing is, first is country. For our country to get into the next level of its growth, अमृत काल में next 25 years के लिए and beyond के लिए, this country representing 140 crore people going to become today 5th largest economy in the world, and the next 5-7 years we are going to be the 3rd largest economy. For all these things, I think the place where we sit and make policies, we really have to have integrating our Puratan, and they, like the Prime Minister told.
Absolutely well said, Mr. Reddy. And Mr. Jawhar Sircar. Mr. Jawhar Sircar, when a person like you, and I've been meeting you when you were a bureaucrat, we've met in the corridors of Parliament even before you became a member of Parliament. Just put a hand on your heart and tell me, when you went to the ministers who summoned you for meetings and discussions when Parliament was on, did you not see that there were several meetings or ministers' rooms where outside heaters had been put in, the staff of the ministers was not was not having enough space to sit, members of Parliament did not have space to sit, political parties that were given rooms had no facilities, there were wiring loose hanging from everywhere because the requirements of 1927 had exploded by then, and all of this is cited in the letters from Meera Kumar's time, and you know all of this, Mr. Jawhar Sircar, but why does politics make you not look at what was always obvious to you?
Navika, first let me come back. First of all, let me get back to your primary point, that why did the wrestlers come and break the law? Now, I'll only respond to you because Anand Ranganathan was frothing in his mouth, and I don't respond to fury. I respond to logic. Now, coming to your point that why was the law being broken? First of all, get your history clear. India is today a free country because Gandhiji and the Congress chose to break the law. Whereas other treacherous people did not come into the freedom struggle. A part of them were with the British. Their descendants don't have a right to talk like this. The descendants of those who had betrayed the freedom struggle have no right to speak like this about democracy. Democracy is a confrontation between the old idea and the new idea. We would all like to avoid confrontation in a more physical sense, but if that is the only way out, if an elected autocracy decides to come down so heavily on the nation's finest wrestlers, so be it. Agitation is the core, is the spirit through which a democratic revolution is achieved. And it was done in Navnirman movement of Gujarat. It was done in the total revolution of Jayaprakash Narayan. So let's not get into subjects where we are not so familiar. Okay.
Well, Mr. Jawhar Sircar, then the democracy in Bengal, in your free time, please look at it, because there are 13 FIRs against me for a fault that I haven't really made, but 13 FIRs against me for which I had to go to Supreme Court. So please, when you're giving lectures on democracy, maybe that has escaped your attention. I'm coming to you, Anand Ranganathan, but I haven't spoken to Dr. Saeed Hafiz, national spokesperson of the DMK. I want to ask Mr. Hafiz. Mr. Hafiz, the Sengal, part of our culture, the part of our history, it was given to Jawaharlal Nehru, it was given by the Adhinams to Mr. Nehru at a time when Rajendra Prasad was standing next to him, but an entire controversy has been created out of why is this something that is part of Sanatan Dharma being given so much honor. India became a democracy in 1947, 15 minutes before the tryst with destiny at midnight of 15th of August. This was given by the Adhinams to Jawaharlal Nehru, and then it was relegated to a museum. So there was no princely states, or there were no kings at that point in time. So why is the DMK making such a hullabaloo about it? Have you run out of reasons to protest?
Hi, Navika. Yeah. Very good evening. To start with, you're factually wrong. Today, I would want you to go back and read the Hindu newspaper where it has come up with fact. 15 minutes prior to whatever time you said, Nehru wasn't with the Adhinam. He was in the Parliament building and having a lecture. Okay.
Please read another article of the Hindu. Please read another article of the Hindu, and while you are at it, read the Times of India at that time as well, and you will get the other version, and you can read the Time magazine as well. So please educate yourself fully and completely.
So everybody has their version. Navika, everybody has their version.
Truth has no version, sir.
I am quoting.
Truth has no version. Truth is only one.
Exactly. So
Navika,
exactly. Then how do I buy only your version of the story?
Anand Ranganathan is contesting your version of the truth. Anand Ranganathan.
So please do not. Let me complete. I never interrupted. You have given me the last 10 minutes of the show, and stealing my time is not democracy again, Navika. Today you are celebrating democracy. The democracy should start from your show. You should allow me to speak uninterrupted. You should allow me to speak uninterrupted, please.
We should suffer.
That is my request
so please,
to you.
carry on.
Okay? So now, coming back to the whole story today, it all started with... Okay. So, next of it, the whole story about today has come from the BJP themselves. When Murmu stood for election, there was a group of political parties who did not vote for Murmu. That time, what was the logic that was said? The logic was said that because she is from an Adivasi, the Congress and the Alliance do not want Adivasi as a president. That is why they are opposing Murmu. Now, why don't we not have the same question to BJP today? If Murmu wasn't an Adivasi, if Murmu wasn't a woman, would she be denied the invite today? So that is the question. And coming about the women wrestlers, the primary problem is because they had to go to Delhi High Court to file an FIR. What democracy are you talking about? A sexual assault victim has to go to the court.
Mr. Hafiz, Dr. Hafiz. Somewhere Anand Ranganathan, the wrestlers are a problem. Somewhere Murmu ji, the President of India, is a problem. Basically, problems. They just cannot bear the sight of Prime Minister Narendra Modi inaugurating a new parliament, because that's the bottom line.
Navika, like IIT mains and advanced, should you not have some sort of screening for the... Now, please, Dr. Hafiz, I did not interrupt you. Dr. Hafiz, please, let us give each other, especially on today, let us please give the courtesy to each other. Otherwise, you can take my time and you can continue. Can I please?
Yes,
thank you so much.
Go on.
Yes, Navika, I am very glad that almost immediately, the moment Dr. Hafiz blurted out his lies, you countered him. But let me bolster that, the counter to his white lie, which is that S. Gurumurthy has actually completely demolished the false narrative of Jairam Ramesh, who is from the Congress, the same lie that Dr. Hafiz was parroting, and that has been accepted by the Hindu, and they've corrected their version. Besides, I'm sure Dr. Hafiz in his spare time, reads books. He must have read Dominic Lapierre and Larry Collins. I think those were the two authors who wrote Freedom at Midnight, based on extensive interviews of Lord Mountbatten. And there it is clearly said that Nehru received the chongal from the priests, and they were also, they put vibhuti on him. So now again, he is bringing the same thing again and again. Now let us, please, enough with this. As far as my good friend Jawhar Sircar is concerned, I mean, I said, Navika, please don't, please. No, please.
I'm running out of time. And Anand Ranganathan, you'll have to conclude in 30 seconds.
No.
Yes, I'm just
This is unfair.
Oh.
This is unfair. I am showing you evidence. No, I did not say Nehru did not meet. Don't twist facts. BJP is known for it. I said at that point.
Anand Ranganathan is not BJP, but never mind that matter of detail. Anand Ranganathan, complete your point. Yes, objection noted and recorded, Dr. Saeed.
I'm just
Okay, got that.
I am showing you the newspaper.
Yes, sir. I said noted.
Please courier me that newspaper.
I'm showing you the newspaper.
I won't even wrap my kachoris in that newspaper. But anyway, Navika, can I please continue without being interrupted?
Please read it.
Oh my, Navika.
Yes, please complete your point, Anand Ranganathan.
Yes, I'm forced to respond to Mr. Jawhar Sircar just because he took my name and said I'm frothing. No, I'm not frothing. I'm dreaming of frothy filter coffee. Now, Mr. Rudy has already rebutted 3 of his lies. And, it is amusing, him talking facts. It's just very strange. I mean, I think, the day is not far when he will say that privilege motion is something that is induced by Isabgol. How many lies will he say? And as far as him, one thing I object to, when he's talking about and abusing the architect of this, Mr. Patel, would he look at this? The architect of this monstrosity is his. Mamata Didi. This was during the Youth World Cup. I'm sure Mr. Jawhar Sircar would actually call this as creation of Michelangelo. So please.
Well, that's beauty lies in the eyes of the beholder. But Rajiv Pratap Rudy, do you think, and I have only 30 seconds, do you think there is a meeting ground between the treasury benches and the opposition?
Well, this parliament doesn't belong to an individual. It's a part of the democracy under the constitution. It belongs to all of us, and every common Indian deserves to have something like the Indian Parliament. The purpose is to be there, to use the facilities, to be a part of the greater debate to build up India, and that is what the Honorable Prime Minister was talking. The future has to be tested here, tried here, and created here. And that should be the core idea of all my colleagues who are there in Parliament and all the posterity who will join Parliament. This is not for me and you, Navika, or my fellow colleagues there. It's for the nation. And that's what we need to appreciate, that it's an institution. It is not an individual ownership. It's an institution which will survive, which has survived the test of time, and it will survive the test of time. And that belongs to all of us. And is the milestone of democracy which we all must respect.
Well, let's leave it at that for the moment. We do hope that democracy moves forward, prospers more, as does a whole population of this country called India, our Bharat. And why just slight the pride of India? It's our parliament. It's not just for members of parliament. It is for the people of India. Our parliament and our pride and an aspirational India moving forward. Who can have a problem with that? I don't know. Thank you very much to all my panelists for joining me on this special edition of the Newshour tonight. Good night and be safe.